Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
These words by former President Ronald Reagan, and I'd like to add a footnote that we need these words more so now than ever before. Above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. Ronald Reagan. And how true, especially after the incompetency displayed by the Supreme Court. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Stand tall, stand proud. Independence Day week, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Good morning. Oh, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get a hold of them today, locally owned and operated, 734-6969. And our friends at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch, and all the 4-H'ers. Boy, your projects coming along where you might need all the different tools for your projects, different equipment, and of course all your feed at 10% discount at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir.
You ready?
I am.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Al, thank you so much for calling in this morning on Independence Day week, the 4th of July. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
God bless. Hey, our weather forecast is coming up now, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, and on Mondays, it's Mohawk Monday. And did you know that Martha Stewart has tested and proved Mohawk Smart Strand technology? She actually spilled the red wine on a piece of Smart Strand carpet and then got the stain out with only hot water and a rag. Yeah, that's true. And you can check out all the Mohawk carpeting right there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Good morning. It's time for the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like this high-pressure system is going to be sticking around throughout at least the next week, possibly the next 10 days, and it means it's going to be sunny and hot. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. High right around 100. Expect a low right near 67. For tomorrow, sunny skies, 96. For Wednesday, as we kick off the first day of July, sunny and 97, and it's going to remain pretty much steady. Highs are going to be in the upper 90s to low 100s. Lows are going to be in the low to mid-60s for the next week. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, man, sticking is a good word right there. Warm, yeah. Cheney Flooring and Home Design bringing you the weather at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-6945. Look for the blue door. Before I want to tell you this much right now this morning. I am going to be very serious this morning. I am going to have a story this morning that I think everybody is aware of what I'm going to be talking about, and that's the Supreme Court rulings, of which they had no business getting involved in that ruling, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So please, I want your phone calls. This is a very, very precarious time for the United States of America, our Constitution, and traditional values. We're going to be talking a lot more about that in just a few moments. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and Kevin and Cindy, they take care of all your rumply crumplies. Believe me, I stop in there with a bag of clothes. I mean, good heavens, if they can clean mine and make them look brand spanking new, think of what they can do for yours. Absolutely the best. Stop in and see them today. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and prolong the life of your items with dry cleaning. It's the best in Burley at 1223 Albion Avenue. It's Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, and by the way, do not forget our friends at SafeLink Internet. Deanne's working on the computer right now, as a matter of fact, thanks to the availability of what we have provided us by SafeLink Internet at 677-8000. Idaho's number one choice for wireless Internet, SafeLink Internet. And the number to call to get on the program, 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. SafeLink Internet. You get a hold of them today. Want to remind you of an activity that is going to take place on this Thursday. Back up one day, Wednesday, July 1st. I almost got myself in trouble. And it's the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument. And we're going to have a special service at that monument over in Rupert. And the monument pays tribute to all the fallen men and women who gave their life for us. And it's so fitting that we're going to have this service at Wednesday night, July 1st at Scott and C Street at 6 p.m. Please be there and bring your friends and neighbors. Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument Service on July 1st at 6 p.m. in Rupert. Don't miss it, okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If you hear a little hum in the background, do not be thinking something is wrong with your radio or whatever, because it's just a great big old fan I got here. It's warm inside this studio, and so we got a fan going. So if you hear that little zzz going in the background, that's the fan here at Zebeth Ranch. By the way, if you're lucky enough to have an air conditioner and you haven't changed the filters and you're sitting there going rat-a-frats and all that kind of verbiage, you're mad at your air conditioner, but really be mad at yourself, because maybe you didn't stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric and get a brand new air filter to make your air conditioner work smoother and more efficiently. Yes, they've got them all right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. At Ramsey Heating and Electric, you stop in and see them today. Oh, and I mentioned just a few minutes ago that Valley White Home and Ranch, oh my goodness sakes, they've got everything. Do you realize it's almost here? It's right around the corner. All the fairs in the Magic Valley will be starting up here pretty quick. And for all the 4-H'ers, if you shop at Valleywide and show your 4-H card, they'll give you a 10% discount. I mean, whatever you need right there. You better believe it, the boots, the pants, and the shirts for the 4-H'ers and all the feed and all the equipment, everything at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And by the way, too, they got all the tons and tons of bug spray and fly spray. And, oh, my gosh, you sit down and they're all over you. Get that spray today at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. They've got everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. Well, here we go. 9 people, actually in a 5-4 decision, have changed and altered and destroyed God's Word and the Bible. Now, I want to say this right up front. I will not weaken on these subjects. I will not back up. I will not accept a neutrality on these subjects. I will not accept the left and what they expect us to do. That's not going to happen. Gay marriage is not normal, and the gay lifestyle is not normal. The Supreme Court had no right to make laws here in the United States. None. But they have now. And this is a blow, this is a complete slamming of our Constitution and what our Constitution means. It should have been left up to all of the states as a states' rights issue. I will stand up for that until my dying day, because it says in Amendment 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. The Supreme Court stepped on that and absolutely has created more problems than I think this country can withstand or absorb. This is a advocacy for a lifestyle over and above traditional loving, living, and the Bible. And it is nothing more than judicial tyranny. That's the way I see it. That's the way I call it. It's judicial tyranny. Now, there are those in the audience right now that are cringing and saying, well, you've got to go along. No, I don't have to go along with this. No, I refuse to go along with this, and I will not accept this. So, what happens now, folks, and if you can't speak out on this, it's a shame. This United States of America does not need cowards. It needs brave people now more so than ever to speak their minds and let their opinions be heard. I go back to a conversation that was on this program about a week, 10 days ago. And a gentleman called in, and I respect his opinion, but he was wrong. He said basically that if the law was made, he'd go along with the law, but in his heart, he'd go along with God. Well, that's not cutting the cake. We have got to stand up and be counted right now for what is right and what is wrong. What happens now to churches, pastors, anybody that speaks out against gay marriage or the transgender lifestyle or whatever? What's going to happen? Well, churches probably are in fear right now this morning that down the line, they're not going to do it right now because the left is very cagey. But down the line, in a not too distant time frame, you're going to be seeing an attack on these churches, regardless of denomination, whether it's the LDS Church, whether it's the Lutherans, whether it's the Catholics, whatever. They're going to be coming after them and demanding that if they don't perform gay wedding services, that their tax status be revoked. It's going to happen. What's going to happen to pastors that stand up at the pulpit and preach marriage between a man and a woman? That is God's word. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to talk show hosts like me? Are they going to come after us? Sure they are. They're going to come after our sponsors. They're going to try to villainize us. They're going to do all they can to get everything their way, and everybody else is gone. That's what's going to happen in this country. I will continue to say and practice traditional Christian values. Let me repeat that again so that you know where I stand. I will continue to say and practice traditional Christian values. I will not accept the abnormality of what the Supreme Court has made an edict of this past week. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Folks, it's your turn. It's your time to speak out on this. Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a call on my cell phone last week, and somebody said, and I'm paraphrasing, people are afraid to speak out. They don't want their neighbors to hear them. What? What? Have we turned into a nation of cowards? Caller, be right there. I want to tell everybody about Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Thomas and Terry, the whole crew, serving you with absolutely the greatest of menu choices, breakfast, lunch, and or dinner. It is delicious at Denny's Restaurant. Stop in, like I said, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner anytime. And remember, once a month we have our Zeb's Lunch Bunch over there. It is the greatest place to eat. You're going to love it, along with their new location at 291 Poline Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
I'm good, Dal. Go ahead.
I think if the Supreme Court...
Speak up, Dal. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. Please speak up. Thank you.
I think if the Supreme Court says they're legal, they should do the marrying.
Well, Dal, this is the ruination of our society, as you well know, and the abnormality is now being preached to us to become normal, and I can't accept it. I won't accept it, and I will pull the plug on this program before I will be demanded to accept that lifestyle.
Well, I agree with you 100%. That's why I say the Supreme Court, if they're going to say it's legal, then they should perform the ceremony.
Yeah, and there's something else, too, to be said for you calling in, and it's your courage to speak out on these issues, because a lot of Americans are going to kind of pull like a turtle. They're going to pull the shell over their neck. They're just going to look out from underneath and go, oh, gee, I don't want to stand up and be counted because my neighbors and everybody might be against me. God bless you for having the courage to speak out, Dal. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, we all should be speaking out because things are going to be very tough. Churches are going to be attacked. Religions are going to be attacked. And they're going to be threatened more so now than ever before. It's just in the brewing right now, if you will. And the left is just sitting there like a giant serpent ready to strike out at anything and anybody. Mark my words, it's coming. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental with 3 locations to serve you, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and the great big new one at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They've got all the equipment for you to get the job done and get it done right. 0% financing until June 30th. That's coming up tomorrow, so you better run in today and check out the Walker Mowers. No payment for up to 120 days at Barry Equipment and Rental. Always great deals. You stop in and see them today. Barry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and Highway 30 in Burley. Thank you very much. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A little bit later on this morning, I want to remind you, too, that we're going to have our visit with Ron Ellis with BASF, and, of course, BASF, excellent research for growing Idaho and America's crops, BASF. And Ron Ellis as a representative, along with all the fieldmen and the crop advisors, and I want to remind you, sugar beets, don't forget the challenges to control powdery mildew, which is becoming a problem all over the state. And with early detection and the application of Preaxor, you can really help benefit your sugar beet crops. Find out more by calling Ron Ellis at 431-6776 or your fieldman and crop advisor about BASF and Preaxor. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Whatever happened to the word the majority rules? It works in everything else except this. How come?
Well, you know, you're bringing up a really good point to which I was going to address here a little later in this hour, is that when Proposition 8 was voted soundly in California, that marriage should be defined only as a man and a woman, the majority ruled in that state, which a lot of people consider to be a very liberal state, California, but the people spoke up and their voices were trashed and overrun by the liberal left. It's a crying, filthy shame.
Yeah, and that was such a shame because it was definitely ruled to not be the law. And they come back But we can't come back on this, Eb. This is the Supreme Court. This is like the person that's next to Jesus Christ as far as people are concerned.
But they're wrong, Keith. They're wrong. The Supreme Court is wrong, and this is not right. It's got to somehow be turned upside down. They do not have the right to make the laws. I'm not a lawyer, but here I go. I stayed in a Holiday Inn one night, I guess. Anyway, I'm not a lawyer. I took pre-law, but I'll tell you what, the Supreme Court does not have the power that they exemplified this past week.
I realize that, but what can we do as individuals without being scorned to the end?
There is nothing but to stand up and say what you feel about this issue. I am not ever going to advocate gay marriage or the gay lifestyle or the transgender lifestyle. I'm not going to do it on this program. And if somebody expects me to adhere to these programs, I'm not going to do it because it's wrong. And I've got to ask myself, morally, can I accept that? I can't. I'm a traditionalist with traditional values and belief in the Bible. And to go against that, I have no values whatsoever.
You know, many, many times this has happened, and it is what the parents do in a case like this. Like, everything is going along fine, you got a wonderful family, it's like Leave It to Beaver, and then all of a sudden their son says he is gay. And so what does the mother and father do? We have to love him just like we love everybody else. We've got to treat him fine.
Love the sinner, but hate the sin, Keith. Love the sinner, but hate the sin. And sin has to be hated. It has to be looked down upon. It has to be cast out. We're all sinners. And therefore, we can't accept the sin on one and not sin on the other. This is absolutely ludicrous what's being pushed upon us as Christian people.
But what are we going to do?
Stand up and speak against it. That's what I have to do, and I will not change. God bless you for your call.
Too. I'll be right beside you.
I appreciate
when you go down.
All right. Keith, thank you, sir. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Caller number 2, stand by. Don't go away. I'll be right there. I'm running a little bit late. I'll be right with you. Stand by. 89th Annual Rupert 4th of July celebration coming up. Salute our troops. Absolutely. It starts tomorrow with the breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning right there at the City Square. Christmas in July breakfast. And then all the activities just open up like floodgates. And it's going to be great fun all the way through the 4th of July, well known all over the West as one of the premier 4th of July celebrations. That's the Rupert 4th of July celebration, 89th annual Salute Our Troops. Don't miss a minute of it over in the great town of Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, you there?
I'm listening. Go ahead, quickly.
Oh, yeah. Listen, this is just a part of a greater agenda. They're trying to silence the Christians. They're trying to get rid of the Christians in this country. They're trying to silence us, to make us, every time we speak up, to be biggest and what have you.
I agree.
It's all part of a plan. It's part of the one world order.
I agree with you.
They're using everything. The gay community is not by any means tolerant as a Christian community. A Christian is more tolerant of anything else in this planet. We're the most tolerant people in the world. Christians are. The real Christians.
I agree.
But the gay community is by no means tolerant. So don't expect them to stop with what we give them.
You know, right there, sir.
This is just the beginning.
Sir, you are 1,000% correct, and I admire and appreciate your bringing that up, because I guess the question could be, what is coming next? And it better be acknowledged, because what you just said is absolutely the truth. They are not going to stop here. They're not going to stop there.
We need to get back to the gospel, the real gospel. And as I said it before, the real gospel is not being preached by these ministers in any church.
I agree.
If we had more ministers preaching the gospel, this would never be happening.
I agree.
But we have become a weak church because we're not preaching the truth anymore. We're becoming more of a social club.
I absolutely applaud you for calling with the nerve and the fortitude to speak your mind on this, and you, sir, are very, very correct. God bless you. I got a break, but I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Thank you. That gentleman is spot on, because you got to ask yourself, what is coming next? And believe me, there is a long laundry list on the left, a dirty laundry list that they want to impose on us. I'm running a little bit behind. Stand by. I'll take some more calls, but right now it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology. I'm going to go over there and see her this week. Wonderful, wonderful doctor that can help save and protect your hearing. And so this is a very valuable tool to know this lady and to have her available to help you in the preservation of your hearing and the enhancement of your hearing. And if you have hearing problems, call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Ranchers should expect veterinarians to automatically approve use of medically important antibiotics in livestock feed or water under new federal guidelines, a university expert warns. Vets will have to consider a variety of factors when filling out directive forms, including whether an alternative is available, whether the use matches the label on how drug use could impact antimicrobial resistance. A veterinarian can only approve use if he or she has an existing vet-client relationship with a producer, including knowledge of the facilities and examination of the animals. Producers shouldn't expect quick approvals and should contact the veterinarians well ahead of use, says Michael Apley of the Kansas State University. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, I am Raul Peña.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and Capital Press.
Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. Wonderful lady that can help you save and protect your hearing. Christine Pickup. Call her today for a hearing screening, 312-0957. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. I've got to get this good word in, and I'll be right there with your call. Hang on not more than 60 seconds. Right now, the Silver State Stampede.
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thunders into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th for family entertainment at its best. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of rodeo riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo. The action kicks off on Thursday with the annual kickoff party, including a tri-tip dinner, mutton busting, the Old West bronc riding, and dancing to the music of the Jeff Palmer Band. Things heat up on Friday and Saturday with PRCA rodeo action, the Ring of Fear, mutton busing, and all the fun, music, and dancing you can handle. And don't forget on Saturday, it's tough enough to wear pink. Pick up your tickets today at Roy's, the J.M. Capriola Company, the Boot Barn, IFA, or the Elko Chamber Office. Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thundering into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th. Family entertainment at its very best.
Oh, thank you, Silver State Stampede caller. I'm sorry, and your patience is appreciated. Go ahead, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, we reached the point where it said that good would be called evil and evil called good.
Yes.
So Christians are under attack in a nation that the Supreme Court ruled for, for most of our existence as a nation, that we're a Christian nation. Of course, our president said we're no longer a Christian nation, obviously because of his Islamic background. I guess we're being converted to a Muslim nation. But, these decisions that were made by the Supreme Court and the trade agreements this last week, it was a sad week for our country and our Constitution.
Well, Adrian, I want to just throw something at you and stick with this vein of thought in your answer and keep it relatively brief, if you would. I honestly believe that the Supreme Court and other factions that are happening not only here in this country but around the world are depending upon Christians turning the other cheek, and therefore they're going to make a major push to try to make the abnormal normal, more so now than ever before in our nation's history. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, and see, we're bored with the whole thought. Now they say we have to acceptance. There was a letter in the paper today about, acceptance.
Yeah.
As Christians, we turn the other cheek, we, love our neighbors and all our stuff, but some of these same neighbors want to kill us.
Yep.
Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And so, where do we take a stand? We better be really waking up. But most people that I talk to are still asleep. In church yesterday, a person came up to me and said, we really are at the point where evil is taking over and running our country.
I agree.
And it's absolutely true.
I agree. I got to run and do a...
The 1% out there, along with the media, have brought about this chaos as far as marriage situations.
I agree.
1%, a little over 1% are actually gay.
I agree.
The media makes it sound like there's 30, 40%.
Absolutely.
It's a total lie, and we need to stand up for it, folks, and speak out.
I'm going to continue to speak out on this program. I'm not going to weaken, and I'm not going to be dictated to by the liberal left. And, Adrian, I know you're not either. Thank you very much. I got to get a contest in here real quick, and I got to take care of it. Thank you. We are running a little bit late, and I appreciate it. We're going to give away some half dozen right now, delicious cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. And I can't wait to do this. People love them. If you're a previous winner, you are not eligible. Let it happen for somebody else. Sophie's Chatterbox on the Square, 530 East Street, open 6 to 6 weekdays, 6 to 2 on weekends. Great restaurant, great bakery. Here's the question for today to win a half dozen cinnamon rolls. What did famous actor Wilford Brimley, what did he do for a living before he became a famous actor? Wilford Brimley, you know him, Mr. Quaker Oats, and of course he was in Cocoon, he was in all kinds of movies. Wilford Brimley, what did he do before he became a world-known famous actor? First person to call with the right answer is going to get a half dozen cinnamon rolls. Come on now, don't let me down. Call 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What did Wilford Brimley do before he became a world first-class actor in a lot of big, big movies? What did he do for a living? Give me a call at 436-2244, and you'll win a half dozen cinnamon rolls to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Holy cow, I didn't think it was that hard a question. Give me a call real quick. And while we're waiting for your call, I also want to acknowledge the fact that on Tuesdays we have Dr. History segment at 10:06, brought to you by Mini-Cash Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Don't forget, they've got all your lumber packages. They've got all your windows from Western Windows. Save on your heating or cooling bills, and all the top quality carpet. Everything along with Tartar Farm and Ranch gates and panels at Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, bringing you Dr. History. Oh, come on. Come on, give me a call. What did the famous actor Wilford Brimley, you've seen him, Mr. Quaker Oats, and then he did quite a few TV commercials for the Diabetes Foundation, and he was in many, 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 many movies, Cocoon, The Electric Horseman, and the list goes on, and then that movie, The Firm, with Tom Cruise, all of those movies. What did Wilford Brimley do for a living before he became a famous actor? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm going to take a stab at it.
All right, go ahead.
Was he Captain Kangaroo?
No, that was Bob Keeshan, and he was Captain Kangaroo. And you know what? The similarity in looks is amazing, because you're right. Wilford did look a little bit like Bob Keeshan, but nope, that's not true. I will give a hint. Caller, thank you for your call. But I will give a hint to you folks. It had something to do with horses. I may have given too much of a hint right there. Wilford Brimley, what did he do for a living before he became a very famous actor. Give me a call. Come on, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hurry, come on, call me. Don't forget Dixon Oil, 602 South 2nd in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they've been in business since 1951. A great service station, gas, oil, fuel, heating, propane. Daryl and the rest of the crew at Dixon Oil wish you the best Independence 4th of July Day ever this year, 2015. Thank you, Dixon Oil. Come on, give me a call real fast, or I'm going to have to go to first caller or something if you don't come up with the right answer. And what did Wilford Brimley do for a living before he became a very famous actor? And I knew him in that transition period. I'm not trying to drop names. I'm not trying to say that, bully for Zeb, but I did know the man, and I knew him very well back in those days when he was making the transition from a previous job to being an actor. Good morning, you're on the air. Hello, caller. Talk to me.
Hello?
Yes, talk to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, was he a horseshoer?
Who is this?
This is Roger.
Roger who?
Graham. Yeah.
All right, Roger Graham, you call Sophie's Chatterbox because you are 100% right. He was a horseshoer, and you won the cinnamon rolls. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
All right, buddy, thank you very much. Roger Graham has the right answer. Wilford Brimley was a horseshoer. And if you watched quite a few of the movies that he was in, especially the Western variety, a lot of times they use different sequences showing him shoeing horses. And I just thought I'd throw that out there. I didn't think it was going to be that tough. He was well known as a horseshoer around the Intermountain West before he got his big break in pictures. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to get back on the story of the Supreme Court and what's going to happen next. Now, here's my suggestion, and I mean this. Talk to the leaders of your church. Ask them where they stand. Ask them how they're going to stand. And ask them who do they really think is going to stand with them. There has to be a standing up and a showing of conviction for traditional beliefs of God's Word and not the rewrite of man's Word because of the Supreme Court. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, in our country, didn't every one of those men put their hand on the Bible and swear to honor the law and uphold it and to maintain it? And the greatest law that we are maintaining are the Ten Commandments.
Not anymore, Chris.
And so I think it's time to recall them all.
Well, let me ask you. You are, and I'm making an assumption here, so please tell me if I'm wrong. I am making the assumption that you and your family are traditional, valued Christians, and that you are not going to accept this and not be preached to by any small segment of our society, whether it's the 1%ers that believe in that lifestyle or the Supreme Court. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, our family is Christians, and we're active, and we believe that the Ten Commandments were the first commandments we were supposed to honor.
All right.
And I don't think the Ten Commandments coming out of the American highest court are the commandments that I think we should reconsider.
I will guarantee you, and of all the things I've said on this program, Chris, I hope I am wrong on this, but I guarantee you that in less than 6 months, we are going to see an avid assault on churches that are not going to conform with this Supreme Court ruling and or the dictates of the liberal left, especially the gay and lesbian movement, to make and force pastors and churches marry gays in their church and against their traditional values.
Well, and there again, isn't one of the first rules of the 10 rules that we get out of the Supreme Court Separation of church and state.
You know, you and I could go around and around on this, and I agree with you. We'll both be on the same merry-go-round. It's like the dog chasing his tail. It makes you wonder how they could ever get involved in this because of that ridiculous statement, separation of church and state.
For us to separate our state from those 10 men who think they are the Almighty.
Well,
and I think that they were probably ridiculed behind closed doors.
Well, don't use the infringement or the slandering of men only, because keep in mind the women on the Supreme Court are not very smart either.
Yeah, and the other thing is the future of any civilization is children.
Absolutely.
And we quit having children when we let everybody get married who can't do that.
It has been a value system for mankind ever since the Bible and the great words holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. And I am not going to go against that. I am not going to listen to a 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court change my traditional values. It's not going to happen, Chris.
Yeah. Well, you better answer your other caller.
All right.
I think we're on the same page.
God bless you. Thank you. Caller, I'm running behind. Go ahead quickly, please. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. This Supreme Court, if you think about it, they're not so supreme anymore. They've got more off-the-wall decisions coming. It seems like you've got maybe 2 or 3 judges on there that make any sense anymore.
Well, that's true, and they happen to be in the minority, and we're looking at a 5-4 decision that I said earlier is going to change and alter and destroy the belief of traditional values in God's Word and what the Bible says. And, Tony, if Americans don't speak up now and show their complete disgust for what has happened, it's going to be too late to even try to think of changing this.
Getting on this immigration thing again, if we bring 30 million people in here, we're going to be another Greece within 2 or 3 years.
Oh, I could not agree more. What's happening over in Greece ought to be a crystal ball for us to look into and say, oh my goodness, we better start cleaning up our act. God bless you, Tony, as always. Thank you very much for your call. I got to get the weather in here real quick, and the weather is brought to everybody by, of course, our wonderful friends at Mad River Laser. Now, all the parades are coming up this weekend. There might be still time for you to jump into Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert and try to get things done for your business as handouts during the parades and everything. Oh, they do everything. All the business, promotional items, caps, T-shirts, everything. They are the best. Underline that. Not brag, just fact. They are the best. At Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And right now, here is the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like this high-pressure system is going to be sticking around throughout at least the next week, possibly the next 10 days, and it means it's going to be sunny and hot. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. High right around 100. Expect a low right near 67. For tomorrow, sunny skies, 96. For Wednesday, as we kick off the first day of July, sunny and 97, and it's going to remain pretty much steady. Highs are going to be in the upper 90s to low 100s. Lows are going to be in the low to mid-60s for the next week. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, boy, it's going to be sweaty. Good morning, everybody, and our weather brought to you by Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. Thank you, Nicole, and the rest of the crew. I'll take some more calls right now. This is an issue that we have to stand up and be counted. And I'm not going to be dictated to by the likes of the editorial staff at the Times News. Least of all, them. And they had an editorial in the paper yesterday that it just absolutely frustrated me because of their choice of words, very poor choice of words on the op-ed page. And I honestly didn't think that our local paper could stoop to the liberal left persuasions that they have. And some of the writers that write these editorials, of course, this one went unsigned, no courage or backbone to say who did it and or who really was promoting this thought. But needless to say, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later today or in its entirety tomorrow morning in the first hour. Don't forget, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, right behind Dr. Crane's office. And the number to call for an appointment is 678-1191. 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. All the exercises, all the sports medicine, the hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill in the bottom, everything, all the physical therapists headed up by Nick Greenwell, they are the professionals that can help you get back to being you. Absolutely call them today for an appointment. 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, the best. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I mentioned a minute ago, what's going to happen now? What next? Think about the what next. Will they close the door of churches that stand up for traditional values? Ministers out there, it's time you spoke out. It's time you stood up at the pulpit with a backbone for the Bible and God's Word. This rewriting of things to go along just to get along is not going to cut the cake. Now more than ever before, because of this ruling by the Supreme Court, you, the pastors and leaders of churches, are going to have to stand up for traditional values, or churches are going to fold like a house of cards. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, as Christians, and we are still a Christian nation, I don't give a rat's bahoot what Obama thinks, but as Christians, we believe in following the law of the land until it contradicts what God's law is.
There you go. That's right.
Now, we've received God's law in the form of commandments. Now, from the very beginning of time, God created Adam and Eve, and he joined them as one flesh, which we believe is marriage, and he commanded them to go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. Now, I'm not a doctor and I'm no genius, but two men or two women cannot have children. It's impossible. So from the very beginning of time, God established the family unit as a man and a woman, and he commanded them to have children. That right there debunks the whole gay marriage situation.
But
it's just not right.
We're living in a society right now, caller, I know you'll agree with me on this, where the left and its sleaze, its absolute filthiness is taking over our lifestyles. It's taking over in the schools. It's taking over in entertainment with our television. It's taking over with our churches. It's taking over everything and demanding that traditional values be thrown down on the ground and stomped on. And if we don't stand up now, when will we?
Well, Zeb, I saw a thing today that said, if you don't like abortion, don't have one. If you don't like cigarettes, don't smoke them. If you don't like guns, don't buy one. You know, and what we're looking at is everybody thinks, well, I don't like this, so we have to ban it. Well, we're taking each other's rights away. Yep. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, just don't do it.
Sir.
But the fact of the matter, what we're looking at here is this is morally wrong.
That's right. You are 100% right in what you said, and you had the courage of your convictions to say it. But I honestly implore everybody that if we do not stand up and exercise our First Amendment rights of free speech, we are going to be silenced. We are going to be cast out. We might even be jailed. It might become illegal for people, and it might be a hefty fine or a tax if you speak out against what any leftist filth wants to portray in our family circles and society. Sir, today is a very, very important day because we are either going to sink or swim or join the sharks, and I won't join.
No, in fact, it's time that we all stand up for what we really believe. Like I said, as Christians, we do believe in the law of the land. But until it contradicts God's law, then it's no longer valid.
There you are, and thank you for having the conviction to call. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. That man's right. And I do get very worked up about this because I'm not going to change. I mean, the idiots, and I think some of them are on the left, which also work for the Times News and their editorial staff, they'd like to lump us all together and call us disenfranchised whites. Yeah, that's one of the phrases they used in this absolutely imbecilic op-ed piece yesterday in the paper. Well, I'm not disenfranchised. Yes, I am white, but I also believe in traditional values, and I'm going to stand up for them. And I'm not going to let anybody, especially the Supreme Court, tell me I am wrong. I am not. Don't forget, you should be ready for summer travel, and you better stop into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they can give you a free pre-trip safety check, visual inspection on tire pressure check, wheel alignment inspection, of course, visual inspection on brake components, etc. My goodness, they can help you drive safely to Aunt Martha's and Uncle Fred's, along with all the tires for your vehicle, be it a car, SUV, your horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever. They've got all the tires for your safe driving need. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, my goodness, and above all, the best in service. They take care of you. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, of course, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Here is what's going to happen, folks. Mark these words. They are going to deem my program hate speech, bigotry, and hate-mongering. It's a done deal. That's what's going to happen. Because I stand for traditional values, and I stand for God's word over man's word. That's the way it is. And so the left is going to assault me and assail me, and they're going to come after me the same as they're going to come after you, your churches, etc. If we don't band together and speak out against the sleaze and the slime that is permeating our societies, it's because we keep turning the other cheek is why we have these problems. I'm not turning the other cheek anymore. No, nada. I'm going to stand up and fight for traditional values. Values that I think this country needs now more than ever. I'll be back in 6. Oh my, welcome back. Thank you, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch, including all the bug spray and the fly spray. Woo, they're out. Get the bug spray at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste.
Expect more and get it with our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Number to call, get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Locally owned and operated, folks that really care about service to you. Yup, and get rid of your garbage efficiently with Western Waste Services. Call that number, 734-6969, always at your disposal. We're going to have Doug Johnson on in just a few minutes, and I know he and I are going to have a great conversation about this mess, absolute mess created by the Supreme Court, and we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, his staff, his family, always with flexible hours to serve you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, please remember this number to call, and they can assist you at 436-5636, always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, 436-5636. Excuse me for coughing on the air. And while I'm thinking about it, don't forget to every hour in the morning, early morning, when we start our program, We have our weather first and foremost brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Yep, everything you need to make your house a home, and all you have to do is look for the blue door or give them a call at 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Really, really nice people. Doug Johnson, good morning. Come on in, sir. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of fanfare. I want to get right to the issue this morning on the docket, and I've talked about it all the first hour. The 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court that I said, and I'll stand behind, will change, alter, and destroy God's Word and the Bible in this country. Your thoughts? Doug Johnson, good morning to you.
Well, morning, Zeb. I not only agree, the blog post I just put out this morning talks about that. The actual plan of the progressives, and I talk about the history of that, going back to about 1923, is to eradicate Christianity from America, and that's what the goal of this entire thing is. This is the ruling of the Supreme Court last week. Both rulings, all rulings, were not the problem. They are symptoms of a bigger problem, and what we saw last week was the affirmation that the constitutional republic of the United States of America no longer exists. Mm-hmm. I said to my wife this morning before I came on your show that I don't believe that I can any longer celebrate the 4th of July because the 4th of July represents what we once were. Now, for the 4th of July, I will be in mourning because I mourn the loss of our country.
Well, let me interrupt you right there. I feel a little differently because I am going to be very vocal. I am going to be very outstanding in regards to how I celebrate Independence Day, the 4th of July, because I want to... a slogan at the end of my program, Doug, sums it up. The way things were are the way things ought to be, and I'll stand behind that. I'm not going to weaken. I'm not going to turn the other cheek. I am incensed that as a traditional Christian with traditional values, that this Supreme Court is trying to throw me into the gutter.
Well, they are, and it's not just the Supreme Court. This is what most Americans miss. What we have seen is an entire loss of our freedom of First Amendment expression.
That's true.
Of belief. We have no religious freedom, no freedom of conscience anymore.
That's right.
The Supreme Court threw that out. A month ago, I wrote a piece called America in 2025.
Yep.
And it was about what would happen if the Supreme Court redefined marriage, which they just did. And I would encourage people to go back to the Horse Sense blog and read that, because what I did was I simply took what has happened in Canada in the last 10 years since their courts ruled for gay marriage, and how they have lost any rights they had that were the same as our First Amendment rights. And we are in the same position right now. Those are gone. And we now have a situation on our hands where I would say that it not only supports, but it actually clearly defines the fact that we have, if we're lucky, we have the 2016 election cycle to bring this country back. If we don't, our freedoms will be too far gone after that to even have a chance again. So we are in a very critical stage. We are at a stage where we should have woken up decades ago and we didn't, and now we're at a crisis point.
Well, just to let you know that I do read your blogs, and I know you read mine. I try to keep mine short and precise and concise. Yours is like 5 to 6 pages normally, but I do read them, and I want to bring out a sentence that you had in there that really points out everything that we're talking about this morning, and I quote, what they, and paraphrase the left, what they care about is the methods they need to employ to cause the destruction of American society and the resulting collapse of our system of government. And you couldn't have said it any better than that right there. This is another nail in the coffin to America and its values.
Oh, it absolutely is. And that is the plan, that is the goal. It has been the goal for a long time. And the sad part is this won't be fixed by an election. That's not the answer. It's certainly needed and critical to even retain any semblance of hope that we can save this nation. But this goes back much deeper and starts in our homes. And we have, if we work really hard with nonstop, we have multiple generations of work to do just to bring America back to anything close to what it was when we were growing up, let alone what it was founded to be.
Yeah, but Doug, they're not done. You know this. I know this. We've talked about this in private conversations. They are not done. This is just another chisel, another hammering of the chisel against the framework of anything that stands for decency. And they, the left, are not done. This is just another stepping stone over the roadblock of public that will stand up against them.
Well, absolutely. The communist plan is to overthrow America and all of Western civil society. And part of that plan is to destroy the values and the moral foundation that upholds our whole culture. And they realize that there are various things they can do to do that. These rulings this past week are just really nails in the coffin. They don't care about those issues. I guarantee you President Obama does not care about racism. He doesn't care about gay marriage. He doesn't care about health care. All he cares about is control. That's what they want. They want to force this nation to its knees, which it already is at. And now that it's down, they want to force it to be bowing in servitude to a communist agenda. And that is the plan. And I use the word communism intentionally because that's what it is. People don't want to say it, but that's what it is.
You know, one word, and I noticed you used it in your piece that you had written this morning, and I have talked about it on this program ad infinitum until I'm sick of saying the word, but the word tolerance. The left always says, well, you aren't tolerant. Well, you've got to tolerate this. Well, you've got to tolerate. What about my speech? What about my thoughts? What about my traditional values? There is no tolerance for that, Doug.
No, tolerance in the left's mind, you must be tolerant of everything except for biblical Christianity. Biblical Christianity is not accepted and must be defeated. In fact, George Takei, and people may recall the name, he played the character Sulu on the original Star Trek series. And he is gay and a very active, busy gay activist. And he has said, now that they've achieved this victory, their next plan is to wipe out Christianity.
Yeah. And
so this is where they're headed. And it's a very serious thing. This is, and part of the problem, Zeb, and people don't like to hear this, part of the problem is so many people think, well, America's a Christian nation. Well, we can have that debate. I will argue historically it actually never was. There were Christians involved in the founding, but it's not a Christian nation. 70% of Americans profess to be Christian, but probably only 5% of them truly live a Christian life. And when they get to Judgment Day, they'll find out they really weren't. So we have so far abandoned our values, even as on a superficial level, that's one of the main reasons we're where we're at. Had we held to those values and lived those values as a nation, and not speaking you and me and probably many of your listeners who are people like us, but as a nation, if we had done that, we would not be in a position we're in because we never would have opened the door to allow this stuff. But, just using our schools as an example, way back in 1991, 24 years ago, it was reported that over 10,000 professors in our colleges and universities were Marxists. Today, that number is even higher. Mm-hmm. It's unfathomable to think how far we've let this thing go and never stopped it. And it's because we have not lived the lives we should as a nation. What was once considered normal is now considered aberrant, and by that I mean to have any kind of legitimate biblical faith. I will commend Mike Huckabee tremendously this weekend for what he said when asked about the gay marriage ruling and the fact they put the rainbow colors of lights.
Oh, my.
And he said, well, if I become president, don't be surprised if I put a nativity scene out front. And God bless Mike Huckabee for saying it, because that's right.
I was absolutely appalled, Doug. I want to make a little bit more of a point of what you just said. I was absolutely appalled that our nation's White House would be bathed in the colors of purple and orange and red and yellow as a gratuity to the lesbian and gay society over this gay marriage edict by the Supreme Court. It was appalling and sickening.
Well, and here's what's interesting about that, Zeb, because I was thinking about this morning, and here's what's interesting. The gay pride flag, as they call it, which is that rainbow color flag, they take the rainbow, and it's very fascinating to me because God, generations ago, destroyed the earth with a flood, and he said, because of the iniquity of man, and primarily sexual sin was the main part of it. And God said after that, he said, I will never destroy the earth by a flood again, and to prove my promise, when it rains, I will put a rainbow in the sky as my covenant with man, that I will not flood the earth again. And interestingly enough, it was the rainbow. And I think it's interesting that here the left and the gays have co-opted the actual rainbow as their symbol, when it's actually God's symbol of promise, as a result of what he did because of that kind of behavior. And so this is how twisted things are. I mean, that frankly should be a Christian symbol. It should not be a gay symbol. But this is how twisted our society has become.
Yeah, but Doug, here's the question for today. And I'm not going to back up on anybody criticizing me. I'm not going to back up on anybody trying to change my mind. The thing that people need to do today and for days hence, when they stand and are either shaving, looking in the mirror, or whether it's a lady fixing her hair, you've got to ask yourself a question. What is next, and what am I, as a person that's a Christian with family values and moral values, what am I going to do? That, I think, is the number one question right now, Doug. It's no more turning the other cheek. Nuh-uh, never again.
Well, I think that what we're going to see is this is going to shake out the real Christians from the phonies. Because, for example, a very, very close friend of mine, dear Christian friend, wrote to me, and he said a friend of his from Bible college when he went to school, who had gone into the ministry, had just put up a like on something on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, they do, but supporting the Supreme Court's decision. And my friend told me, he said, I think he did it because his mother is a lesbian. And I wrote back to my friend, we were exchanging emails, and I wrote back to my friend and I said, I hate to tell you, but your friend either is really, really mixed up and does not understand what the Bible teaches, or he's not really what he claims to be. And then what horrified me is when my friend wrote me back and he said, yeah, he's got a lot of problems, and problems in his church too. He's a pastor.
Oh, boy.
And I said to him, I said, this is scary stuff, but we're going to find a lot of this stuff shaking out, because I guarantee, in spite of the fact that I think it was Justice Kennedy that said, we'll protect religious freedom with all this, that's baloney.
Yep.
I guarantee you they're already readying the lawsuits, and they're going to go after churches and individuals like people have never seen before. You're going to see people lose businesses. You're going to see people imprisoned for not agreeing with what the government says. And read my blog about Canada and what's happened there, and this is the exact kind of stuff that's happened up there. They no longer are even allowed to express a disagreement with homosexual marriage. It's not allowed. In fact, parents aren't allowed to be called the natural parent anymore. You have to be the legal parent, because
that's right.
Otherwise it would be offensive to those who adopt kids that are gay. And so we have gone so far from reality in just 1 week that it's ridiculous, Zeb. I think that the only choice we have is to stand up and say no. Now, I think let me say this, there's a balancing act. Some people do things in a stupid way, and I'm shifting gears just a little bit for you, not trying to get off the subject, but trying to make a point. I'm sure you saw the story where the man went into a Walmart bakery and asked them to bake a cake with a Confederate flag that said heritage, not hate, and they refused to bake it.
Yes.
Then he went to another Walmart bakery and he got them to bake a cake with an ISIS flag on it, and they baked it. And now there's this big uproar. And I was asked this morning on another show what I thought of that, and I said my immediate reaction when I heard it was stupid of him, because I guarantee most Americans don't know what's going on, and most Americans would look at an ISIS flag and not even know what it is. The person who probably said yes, they'd bake it, didn't even know what they were doing. But these kind of things are going to become critical that we understand, whether it be something at that extreme or whether it be the extreme of gay marriage. All of this stuff is coming to a head now, because what has happened is the Supreme Court has just empowered the Democrats, the progressives in our country, and they're going to get worse than ever. And
absolutely.
So if people think it's going to quiet down now, they're wrong. It's going to get a lot worse.
Well, I said exactly that in the first hour. We have a quick call. I've got 3 minutes left. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go.
Yes, yesterday or over the weekend, they had a parade in New York City celebrating the Supreme Court ruling, and it showed a float with gay men on it wearing next to nothing and acting, in a very vulgar manner. And I say, you know what? That's fine, I guess. But you ought to at least stay home and do it, in front of the mirror maybe, instead of in front of my children. And then again, we cater to 2%. 2% of these people are running this country, it seems. And the thing you said was that most people won't know what's going on, and they're probably never going to care. And it's a frightening thought, and I'll hang up.
All right, thanks, Randy. I appreciate it. Doug, respond quickly, if you would.
Sure. Well, I think it is a frightening thought, and the idea that less than 2% of the population are controlling things is scary. And I will say this. In recent weeks, I'm beginning to think that maybe it is more than 2%, because what we see biblically is when sin becomes rampant and really takes off, it spreads like wildfire. And we see this. We're now seeing in colleges that I read recently that the average college campus, 23% of students claim to be LGBT. 23% of our college students at the universities in our country. So something is really amiss. I think our morality is gone, and we're going to be fighting. You're going to have to live in a cave so that your poor children don't have to see all this stuff, because they're going to be exposed to things that are just disgusting and abhorrent.
But good people, I don't care if your percentage is 2%, 20%, 25%. That still means, Doug Johnson, that 75% of the people should stand up and not turn the other cheek and strive to create a morality that this country was founded on. I am not going to weaken.
Well, you're right, Zeb. You're right. But sadly, the majority of Americans now support these actions, and that's what's scary. Is we are now a minority, and so it's going to be a tougher battle. It's a bigger battle.
Well, it's going to be a tougher battle, but it's a
can't win. But it's a big battle.
It's a battle, Doug. But we can't turn our tail between our legs and go sit in the corner and say, "Oh well, I give up." I am not going to quit. I am not going to give up. I'm not going to go along with their value system, which denounces and denigrates a traditional value system in my belief in the Bible and God's Word. And it's time that people stood up shoulder to shoulder and said enough is enough.
Well, I agree with you, because I guarantee what's going to happen is shows like yours, blogs like mine will be gone. They will be outlawed. And this is what's going to happen if somebody doesn't do something pretty quick.
Doug, I got to calm down. I'm very upset, and I know that you are right there with me. God bless you, sir, and thank you for everything you do. Doug Johnson, Colorado, the Horse Sense blog. God bless you, Doug, and come back next week. I can't wait to talk to you.
Thanks, Zeb. Talk to you then.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. I am not yeah, sure, I may be forced to quit. I may be forced to quit because of the intolerant left. But I'm not just going to give in and kowtow to them. No way. They've got a fight on their hands. Don't forget the Idaho Cattle Association, and they're celebrating 100 years. Annual Cattle Industry Convention and Trade Show, and of course the theme, Feeding the Future. All of this is going to take place July 14th through the 18th, starting with their main location, the Riverside Hotel in Boise, and many, many, many other activities all through that week. Absolutely an event that you do not want to miss. So please call them and find out more about all the activities, how to get involved. Make your reservations at the Riverside Hotel in Boise. The Idaho Cattle Association Annual Industry Convention and Trade Show celebrating 100 years, July 14th through the 18th. And our salute to the real cowboys. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, the Rupert 4th of July celebration is going on, and it starts tomorrow morning. Woohoo! Early, 6 o'clock, with that great big Christmas in July breakfast right there at the square in Rupert. And it's the 89th annual Rupert 4th of July celebration with the theme this year, Salute Our Troops. And then on the 1st, of course, food booths and great entertainment. July 2nd, they're going to have carnival and food booths, patriotic program, and it continues all the way through the 4th of July with the big parade at 11 a.m. Don't miss a minute of it. Rupert's 4th of July celebration, Salute Our Troops. Call her real fast. Go ahead. I got exactly 1 minute.
Yes, you know, when I seen that decision come down, I just wanted to get on and go, raise heck. But I realize the most potent thing I can do to oppose this is to continue living the lifestyle that I believe in and not allowing them to bring it into my home and into my world. They may try to do it, but they'll never get it there because I drew the line years ago, and I did it on your program. I told people where I stood, and I still stand there.
I respect that, Jerry, but we also have to be vocal and speak out. You've got to talk to your pastor. You've got to talk to your churches. You've got to talk to your school leaders. We all need to say this is wrong, it's insidious, and it's disruptive against the moral value of America. Jerry, I love you. I'm glad to have you call. Thank you. God bless you and your lovely wife. And I got to take a break and get to my next segment. Thank you for your call.
Okay, I've got one comment there. My pastor already is talking.
All right, good. God bless him.
I don't have to talk to him. He is 100% where I am.
Tell him I appreciate his comments.
Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. God bless
May the
you.
Lord bless. And you keep on keeping on. Don't ever let them shut you down.
I won't, Jerry. God bless you. There's a man that is absolutely one of my dearest friends, and he and his lovely wife and family I have the utmost respect for. Thank you so much. Don't forget, let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn, where the fun is sold. I told you last week, maybe if you wanted to have fun on the water, they got all the watercraft. Zoom, zoom, zoom! Whether it's at the river, whether it's at the lake, whatever, you can have a lot of fun and stay cool. Absolutely. And all the 4x4s, all the ATVs, to get up in the mountains and enjoy all the greenery and the wild animals, everything. I'm telling you to stop over to Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Heyburn. Yes, sirree. That is where the fun is sold. Let's ride. We also want to remind you about the Silver State Stampede. Here comes Wheels.
Follow the crowd to family entertainment at its best. The 2015 Silver State Stampede thundered into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Elko Fairgrounds. Kicking off this weekend of rodeo action on Thursday, July 9th is the annual Stampede Kickoff Party, featuring a $10 tri-tip dinner, followed by the Old West Calcutta, Old West bronc riding, the Western Trade Show, and ending the night with live music and dancing to the sounds of the Jeff Palmer Band. The fun continues on Friday and Saturday with a full roster of PRCA rodeo action, followed by the always popular Ring of Fear, and more live music and dancing. You can get your tickets today at Roy's, the J.M. Capriola Company, the Boot Barn, IFA, or the Elko Chamber of Commerce. For more information, check online at www.silverstatestampede.com or call 777-934-6502. Follow the crowd to the 2015 Silver State Stampede, July 9th, 10th, and 11th. Family entertainment at its very best.
Oh, thank you very much, Silver State Stampede. I'm going to be there. Going to be fun. Thank you very much. And also, I want to remind you, for all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call Dean and Todd for an appointment to make sure that you're covered and they can help is, of course, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Dean, Cameron, Todd, Siemens. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, the professionals serving you. Well, right now I'm going to go to the phone line, and needless to say, I have been upset all morning on this program because I am not going to change my traditional values. I am not going to be dictated to by man's law over God's law, and that's why I'm so blessed right now to have the Alliance Defending Freedom and Carrie Kupek. Carrie, you better have a big pitcher of water to cool me off because I'm hot under the collar right now over that Supreme Court decision last week.
Understandably, Zeb, it really was stunning that 5 attorneys, these 5 justices of the Supreme Court, could unilaterally impose a radical redefinition of marriage that the Constitution is completely silent about, and impose that across the entire country, when in the majority of the states in this country, the people have gone to the ballot box, exercised their constitutionally protected right to vote, and affirmed marriage as a man-woman union. This decision represents the stripping away of the freedom of not just those states, but all Americans to democratically decide the most pressing social issues of our day for themselves, and that is quite concerning.
They took, and I'm not a lawyer, but I will say this. They took the 10th Amendment and trashed it. They took the 10th Amendment for what it meant for states' rights, and they destroyed it. They also took my rights as a traditional Christian, and they trashed my viewpoints and my value system and said they, the Supreme Court, knew better, and they were going to impose that will upon me. I will not bend, Carrie.
And really, you shouldn't have to. It's, as was noted in the oral arguments, marriage as a man-woman union has been recognized for millennia. It's never even been a question what marriage is. And the fact that in, an incredibly short period of time, that this country would think it's okay for, again, as Justice Scalia said, lawyers, 5 unelected lawyers. 9 in total for the Supreme Court, but since it's a 5-4 decision, 5 lawyers to make a decision for the entire country that completely ignores tens of millions of Americans and completely undermines an institution that is the bedrock of society, that has been the bedrock of all society since the beginning of time, across religion, across race, across culture, is just, it's like something we've never seen before, and it certainly is, we are about to enter uncharted territory with respect to religious freedom.
All right, now I want to put you on the spot, Carrie, and I don't mean to, and I'm not trying to be rude, but here's a question I asked in the first hour, and I think it's probably the question that needs to be answered first and foremost. What happens now, right this minute, to churches, pastors, believers, traditionalists, talk show hosts, etc., that are not going to blend in with their tolerant program? I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to accept it. Gay marriage is not normal. It's abnormal. I'm not going to buy into their program. What happens to us?
Well, like I said, it really is uncharted territory. But the activist groups have already made it very clear that they intend to use the IRS, they intend to use the government to go after people of faith, to go after ministries, to go after nonprofits, to go after businesses whose people have been, whose owners have been, living according to their faith and acting accordingly peacefully for, since the beginning of this country's founding. And they're going to go after them, and they're going to try to destroy them and make it impossible for them to live according to their mission. And it's something that I don't even know that we know the depths of how it will play out. But the groups have made it very clear that they are going to do everything in their power to make sure that everything from nonprofits and ministries and businesses will, essentially be destroyed and punished by the government should they keep living according to their faith and beliefs about marriage.
Did you and the ADF and the lawyers with the Alliance Defending Freedom, did you have any inkling that they were going to go this way with a 5-4 decision? Did you have any clues that were sent down that, oh, brother, look out, this is going to open up the floodgates and create all this havoc? Did you have any feeling that this was going to happen?
Well, we talked a lot about the different scenarios that could possibly happen here at ADF, and we were prepared for a number of possible outcomes. There were some, and these are things that have been batted around. Obviously, in the oral arguments on April 28th that were had for this case, there were some very good comments made about, like I said, this has been recognized for millennia. Are we really going to impose this new definition via judicial fiat? And then, there were other, but the thing is, Justice Kennedy, it appears, is very intent about leaving a particular legacy. And during oral arguments, he had made a statement regarding the dignity of these same-sex couples. And so that was sort of a clue that that was a route that he might be going. And as we saw in the opinion itself, he talked about the idea that marriage conferring dignity on these couples. And the reality is, you know, it's sort of mind-boggling that an institution like marriage, which is always understood to be a man-woman union, quite frankly, because it only can be a man-woman union. You know, we have two, you know, the complementary halves of humanity coming together, being able to create children. Obviously, only men and women can do that. And obviously, and of course, the question that always comes up then is, what about the people that can have children? Well, sure, that's always the case. Like, that could be the case, but you don't make law based on exceptions. You make on what is, you know, what's the norm and what happens in, you know, say 90-something% of marriages. And so you have the two, you know, biological halves, and you have them as emotional complementary, you know, two people, men and women. But this dignity thing did sort of give a clue. But what's interesting is I was asked in an interview with CNN on Friday, and they read to me that portion of the opinion and asked me to comment on that about, well, what do you think about Justice Kennedy's comment regarding that? And I said, look, Justice Kennedy what I think he's saying is their concerns matter. The concerns of same-sex couples matters. James Obergefell, the lead petitioner in the case, matters. But here's the thing. They're not the only people who matter. And before the court were also tens of millions of Americans who said marriage is a man-woman union. And their opinions and feelings are certainly, you know, just as valid. But what we saw at the court on Friday was a complete elimination of the voice and vote of millions of Americans who affirmed marriage as that. And like I said on Friday, and when I was there at the court, I said, do we realize what this has opened the door for? Do we realize that the court has now said, look, we don't really care if you go to the ballot box and exercise your constitutionally protected right to vote. Your vote doesn't matter anymore. And so it's really an unbelievable Pandora's box that has been opened. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see, will the First Amendment will continue to protect people of faith like it always has? Well, we've headed into a new, very concerning chapter of American history.
You know, one last thought here, Carrie, and I have to phrase it this way because I believe that's what it is. With this Supreme Court ruling, which is nothing more than, in my opinion, judicial tyranny. That's what I think it is, and I'll stand behind that. Mm-hmm. I wonder what is...
I think you're right.
What is next to fall? You know as well as I do, young lady, that the left, are not going to quit. They've got one little brick, and they've got the mortar. Now they want to add another brick and more mortar. They want to keep building a wall, and what is next to fall? What are we going to look at next that we have to try to defend?
I think they're going to go after, and they've made it pretty clear, they're going to go after nonprofit organizations and private universities and Christian schools and the like, and they're going to do their best to use the government to make it impossible for these ministries and schools to live according to their mission with respect to marriage. You know, I think it was Dennis Prager, I think he said it best, we've moved or what these activists attempt to do, we've gone from tolerance to acceptance to forced celebration. Yeah. And using the government to force people to celebrate a belief or an activity which conflicts completely with that person's faith. And the First Amendment simply does not allow for that. You know, people of faith, religious freedom is our one of our most cherished fundamental freedoms. And when religious freedom is protected, when people are able to peacefully live and act according to their beliefs, economies thrive, neighborhoods thrive. You know, neighborhoods essentially create free social welfare programs. You know, at no expense to taxpayers. They feed the homeless. They, you know, create after-school programs for at-risk youth. And these are things that are, you know, wonderful and help communities and cities and states thrive and flourish. But when you take away the freedom of these groups to be able to live according to their faith, you are essentially killing their motivation for being in existence in the first place. And our country has lost that understanding. It's that very faith that drives these organizations to do what they do and provide such wonderful programs to their neighborhoods. So if you eliminate their freedom to be able to live according to this belief, you eliminate essentially their ability to operate. And that's what these activist groups are after.
Carrie, that was extremely well stated, and I mean this when I say this. God bless you and all the people with Alliance Defending Freedom. Unfortunately, I think that you and the others are going to be working overtime to help us and what is right with traditional values and Christianity, but it's comforting to know that you are there. Thank you for all you do and say, and I just wanted to have you know that we appreciate everything you say on this program. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate that you and always you standing for truth, and we appreciate your show very much as well. And we, like you said, at Alliance Defending Freedom and our allies, we are going to continue to do what we've always done, which is to advocate for people to freely, peacefully live and act according to their faith and beliefs. We're here. If anyone needs us, they are welcome to contact us at 1-800-TEL-ADS. They can go to our website at alliancedefendingfreedom.org or adfmedia.org. But we will continue to advocate for people of faith.
God bless you. Carrie Kupek, Alliance Defending Freedom. Have a wonderful week, Carrie. I'll look forward to next Monday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
There is a wonderful lady, and wow, we've got trouble. Kind of like the old adage, there's trouble in River City. Well, River City being America, because we're letting the sleaze and the filth take over. I'm going to have the weather forecast real quick, brought to you by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my goodness, if you are looking for a great meal and fantastic entertainment, I know the place. Duck Uglies is the place to go. Great food and entertainment. And don't forget, on Friday nights, they got a ribeye special and with shrimp and ribeye. And on Saturday, Omar's back there making those delicious ribs. And Monday through Friday, breakfast burritos. Holy cow, you don't want to miss it. They've got all kinds of good food and good times at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like this high-pressure system is going to be sticking around throughout at least the next week, possibly the next 10 days, and it means it's going to be sunny and hot. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. High right around 100. Expect a low right near 67. For tomorrow, sunny skies, 96. For Wednesday, as we kick off the first day of July, sunny and 97, and it's going to remain pretty much steady. Highs are going to be in the upper 90s to low 100s. Lows are going to be in the low to mid-60s for the next week. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much. Brought to you by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Absolutely delicious. Hey, by the way, too, 4th of July celebration, and some of our great sponsors for the 4th of July include Magic Valley Carpet, 613 D Street in Rupert, just off the square for all your flooring needs. Carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminates, tile. Oh, my goodness, they can help at Magic Valley Carpet in Rupert. Haskins Insurance Service, 629 Fremont Street in Rupert. My goodness, the whole crew serving you, Mike and Dustin and Dawn and Terry, and combined over 50 years experience with insurance for your home, auto, farm, life, or health. Haskin Insurance Service in Rupert. And Doc's Pizza at 514 6th Street in Rupert. Don't forget, terrific pizza shop. Cinnamon sticks are absolutely delicious, and I'll tell you what, they welcome everybody to enjoy Doc's Pizza during the Rupert 4th of July celebration right there on the square in Rupert. Wonderful people. All right, it's time for my dear friend Ron Ellis with BASF. And, of course, BASF and excellent research to help your crops grow bigger and better, not only here in the state of Idaho, but all across the great United States. Here's my dear friend Ron Ellis. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good, Zach. Good morning to you. How are you?
I am fantastic, but I got to tell you that if the crops are like I am right now, I'm a little wilted with all the hot temperatures. What's going on with our crops?
Well, that's exactly right. I tell you what, the guys are playing the game now. I mean, the old adage used to be from the old timers was anybody can grow spuds up to the 4th of July, but it takes a potato grower to grow after them. And I tell you, it's even earlier this year, as a general rule of thumb, even on the more vineyard type varieties, we would say vine closure is about the 4th of July, but it's probably 2 weeks to 3 weeks earlier than that, especially down in Rupert, Minidoka area. And we're catching up with them in Aberdeen and American Falls and Blackfoot and on up the valley. So they're taking the water now.
Well, Ron, let me ask you this, and I'm not a farmer, and I wished I knew more about it. I've been around horses and cattle, but not farming that much, and I've got a great respect for people that can raise crops like potatoes, sugar beets, beans, etc. But now, with the hot temperatures coming on in June, and I know as well as you do it's going to be cyclical, and we're going to see some changes in the next couple of weeks, but have the crops really advanced and matured way too early?
No, not way too early. They're just ahead of time. That what we normally do, because during the May we had the rains, but the rains were warm rains, and so it just kept the plants coming. Sugar beets were loving it, and potatoes were too. And now we're in a situation where we've gone from a vegetative stage in the potatoes to the reproductive stage, that being the hooking stage, and then on into setting tubers, and that's what they're doing now. And we've got some tubers formed, some nice little potatoes out there, some pretty good sized ones in some places. Well, now they're cranking. You got the vegetative mass plus the reproductive situation going on, and that water loss cannot be dealt with. They got to maintain the water all the way through the profile so they don't get behind. And so most growers are just they're on pivots. They're just keeping them going around constantly, and then of course on if they've got hand lines on the end, they're keeping up with those. And then wheel lines, they change a little bit of their strategy, too, to just make sure that they're moving those lines and keeping up with the water. So it's a really interesting, really aggressive strategic game they have to play to keep up and not misform those tubers and not drop sets, because all that's related to heat stress and water. And so it's a big game now. On our end of the spectrum, trying to be supportive from the chemical end, what happens when those potatoes start closing rows is they have a microclimate inside under that canopy, which is very conducive for disease control. So I spent most of the week and through the weekend assisting with recommendations on Endure to make sure we get that white mold and that early blight covered. So a lot of guys were just getting in and hammering a lot of them by air if they were on a reservation situation where they couldn't get in by chemigation. And aerial application does one heck of a job too, and these guys can stay caught up, and if they'll go a minimum 7 gallons of water by air, they'll do a great job of getting that into the plant. And of course the Enduro will redistribute, as we talked about last week. Once it dries, then we'll redistribute down through the lower canopy of the stems and on the soil surface where the disease begins. Well, so that's you see a lot of things in here. That's what a lot of them are doing. They're starting to put on fungicides for white mold, and probably getting some foliars on, and also maybe even some early insect control on other crops. But right now, the sugar beets are just turning the corner. They're closing the rows big time. They're growing great. And the next concern the growers will have there, they've done a good job on their weed control, will be the powdery mildew, which entered the area a number of years ago, and it wasn't a problem 5 years ago, but it's getting pretty significant throughout the whole Snake River Plains now, so they want to be on top of that with pre-axle or headlines.
Well, let me ask you a question. You say it came basically creeping into the Magic Valley and our crops about 4 or 5 years ago. What makes it conducive to have these certain diseases come in and take up residence within a state and within our crops? What happens?
Well, yeah, that's an excellent question. Most of the mildew was brought in from other areas, from the south and southeast and even the west, and it just follows the wind currents in, and it was deposited in the area. And then we've got a conducive climate on the beets for the disease to develop. And then, of course, once it takes up residency, it can maintain itself here and over winter. So it's just a concern the growers have now, and they've done a good job trying to stay on top of it. There's other chemistry that they can use as well as ours. But we found great results with Preaxor and Headline, not only for the mildew control, but for the plant health effect, because we've been able to increase sugar content and yield with the beets. So that's kind of the scenario there. And then, of course, you're talking about the beans and the corn next week. And and they love this hot weather. So
Yeah.
It's been great for the beans and the corn.
Well, you know, Ron, I would imagine that farmers, any and all farmers, are already aware of this, but I can just assume that at this time of the year, especially with the hot temperatures and all the irrigation and the water and everything and the certain diseases like white mold or powdery mildew, etc., that, boy, they better keep in close tabs with their field man or their crop advisor or you. I mean, there's you don't want to be a day late and a dollar short asking the questions, do you?
No, and we support the dealers really well, and they're good about asking me questions, and most of them are pretty knowledgeable about bringing things up to speed and when to spray and what products to use. So we've got a good ag network out there of communication, and most of the growers that are working with their field people are staying on top of it pretty good, I think.
Okay, well, now, next week, what are we going to be highlighting next week? You kind of alluded to it, the corn and the beans, and with all the research from BASF on all the different excellent research on various crops and how to grow them safely and better, I'm sure you've got some answers to their questions, too.
Yeah, and the growers have responded. You know, the corn is amazing. Actually, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not. Maybe most of the growers are, but we actually grow more corn in the state of Idaho than we do potatoes now.
Oh, my.
So, especially from, the Burley area west, we've really picked up on the corn. Naturally, the dairies have been a strong influence of that, but and we can talk a little bit about the alfalfa. Alfalfa is a favorite crop of mine, too, and it uses a tremendous amount of water, so we can visit about that and beans and corn a little bit next week.
You know, Ron, we're seeing some states go through some severe drought issues like California, etc. So far, and I say this with reservation, our water situation here has been blessed. But, boy, this thing could turn around to where we could see miniature California happen right here in Magic Valley, couldn't we?
That was good. I mean, the growers, I think, were very concerned about that prior to May because we were looking at a drought situation, and we just got all that rainfall in May and early June, and it brought our water levels and reservoirs back up, and we got a lot of good deep moisture out of that from the rainfall, so it really saved our bacon. It was tough for the alfalfa growers early because there was a lot of hay down, so it was probably not the greatest thing in the world for them to have to work through, but at the same time, we have to work through those situations as they always do, but in general, we got the moisture we needed.
Ron, we've only got a minute left, and I want you to tell people that maybe aren't familiar with BASF and how they have helped agriculture across the United States. What's the number one thing you'd like people to remember about BASF?
I think the number one thing is that they're very committed to ag. They made that decision. We're probably the smallest division of BASF, but they're very committed to agriculture. Hence, they've built up their research labs. We've got more scientists around the world now than we've ever had, and they're just committed to fine-tuning and finding more and better chemistry for the growers, and that's the focus of our company right now.
Ron Ellis, a dear friend with BASF, and I'm sure Ron urges all the farmers, all the folks, to contact their fieldmen and crop advisors for more questions regarding all the excellent research for BASF and their crops. Ron, God bless you, man, and we'll talk to you next Monday right here on Zeb at the Ranch.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Have a great day.
Take care, sir. There is truly one of my best friends right there, Ron Ellis with BASF. Thank you very much. Hey, the Oakley, Idaho Pioneer Days. Deanne talked to Brady Manning earlier this morning. 2 great big nights of rodeo and power racing and a parade and fun activities at the park. And hopefully by tomorrow I'll have all the information on their great big flyer because it's going to be absolutely outstanding. July 14th through the 18th in the great town of Oakley, Idaho. Don't forget their 24th celebration is going to be fantastic. July 14th through the 18th. And like I said, more information coming for Oakley, Idaho Pioneer Days. Don't you miss it. It is absolutely the fun thing to put on your calendar up in the good town of Oakley. We're going to take a little break for a couple of minutes and come back, and we've got Matt Philbin from back in Washington, D.C. coming on our program, also going to discuss this horrendous decision by the Supreme Court. So don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Oh, my goodness. Good morning, and welcome back to hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you, of course, by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, locally owned and operated, Western Way 734-6969. And, of course, our friends at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch, all the bug spray, fly spray, everything at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. You stop over and see those good folks today. Real quick, oh my goodness sakes, look what they're having at the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley for a special today for lunch. I've got to go. Grilled bratwurst. Oh, I love brats. With sauteed onions and peppers, served with choice of side, veggies, and super salad. Oh, I love brats. Grilled brats with sauteed onions and peppers today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and I make no bones about it. I'm very upset at the judicial tyranny that was basically expressed by the Supreme Court this last week, snubbing and thumbing their nose at traditional Christian values in this country. And with me on the phone is Matt Philbin. And Matt, good morning. I'm telling you, I'm not in a good mood this morning. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, things are pretty grim around here too. But look, it's done. The Supreme Court basically it's lawless. Is basically what it is. They've discovered a right in the 14th Amendment that nobody knew was there. 14th Amendment's been around since 1868. Nobody stumbled over this before. But really, in the end, what they're doing, and which makes it even worse, is they are simply reflecting public opinion. They were reflecting the sort of zeitgeist that we have come to, largely because the media elites on the coasts have been cheerleading for the normalization of homosexuality for about 2 decades now.
Mm-hmm. Matt, why? I mean, why have we? And this is kind of a superfluous, ambiguous question, really. But why? Why have we let this happen? Still, the majority of Americans, the majority of citizens, are between 70 and 80% Christian, of Christian values, so they say. And we've sat back and on our hands with our lips closed with duct tape, and we haven't let our voices be heard when this sleaze, this filth, and this slime has permeated the media. Why? Why have we let this happen?
Because if we speak up, the cool kids ridicule us. They make fun of us. They tell us we're out of step, and then they go on to ignore us. Look, nobody wants to be called a bigot. Nobody wants to be called a hater. Those are the worst things you can be called in America in this day and age. And to voice your concerns over these things you are now a bigot and a hater if you believe marriage is one man, one woman. And unfortunately, that's the place we've come to, and we've come to that place with the help of the media. In fact, largely driven by the media, driven by 20 years of TV shows where 2% of the population is overrepresented on the screen by exponentially. You have newspaper outlets and television news that is absolutely obsessed with gay issues, absolutely obsessed, because they believe it is the current civil rights issue. It's the civil rights issue of our time, and unfortunately, it permeates. It's everywhere, and it gets so that there's very little escape from it. So people start to think, well, it's normal. It isn't normal, and it's only normal in the newsrooms and the TV studios on the coasts. But people in Middle America get fed this garbage over time. It's very hard to get upset anymore.
Matt, I can't give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to change my programming. I'm not going to change my beliefs. I am going to remain a traditionalist. I'm going to remain a Christian. I'm going to say, and I will say it again right now, that God's word supersedes any ridiculous man's word, like the 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court, which destroyed, I think, and alters the Bible, and puts the Bible in a very precarious position right now, because like you said, of the hate speech and the bigots and everything else, I look at an assault on churches like never before. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's coming. And we've already seen it. There was something in the New York Times today where somebody was calling for an end to tax-exempt status for churches. And look, that's what they're going to call for next, an end to tax-exempt status for churches and clergy and religious organizations that do not welcome same-sex marriage, that will not perform. So they can walk into a Catholic parish, demand to be married. When they're turned down, the priest and the parish can be sued. It'll happen in every denomination that does not roll over and accept this. And it's unfortunate, but this is what's going to happen. Think back to last year when Brendan Eich, the guy who had started Mozilla, the web company, he was hounded out of his job because it came to light that he had given money to support Prop 8 in 2008.
That's right.
Prop 8 in California said that marriage was between one man and one woman. It won by a landslide, and he gave money for that. 6 years later, they came after him and said that he can't, his own employees came after him and said that he didn't represent what Mozilla was about, and he was hounded out of his job. And he did it. It happened with the help of the media. It happened with the help of the New York Times, the Business Insider, all these different publications who said, yeah, really, he shouldn't be doing that. And it's gotten to the point where, it's not too hard to imagine priest holes and, other vestiges of religious persecution in this country.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no hope. There's no reason to carry this conversation on any further. Let's just unplug the electric cords that help this program go on the airways, turn off the lights, go outside on the porch, and watch the world go by. I'm not going to live like that, Matt Philbin. I'm going to fight this sleaze and these absolute vermin. So, your job is to stand with me and tell me how. How can we beat them?
Legal is not my thing, but the only way conservatives need to counter-program. Basically, we need to come up with our own stuff. We need to come up with our own fare for Hollywood, our own entertainment TV, our own comedy, our own political snark like The Daily Show, but from the right. We need to do that, and we need to make sure it's actually good. Part of the problem is when you try to counter-program, you end up being kind of strident, and the products are not very good. We need to find a way to get good stuff made, and there are some media outlets out there, some studios that do this kind of thing. But more and more, we are being marginalized. Traditionalists are being absolutely marginalized. We have got to find a way, find a niche, a way to counter-program. And if you look at it, counter-programming, the stuff that has come out in the last few years that has been traditional, that has really stood up for values. Think about American Sniper. What a huge hit that was. Think about the Narnia movies.
Right.
They were huge.
Right.
There's all kinds of success stories out there. If we can just find a way to do them in a sort of systematic
market-oriented way.
I will throw one word at you, one simple word that the left uses all the time against us, Christians, traditionalists, and that is the word, well, we're intolerant. Wait a minute. Who really is intolerant? Who really wants to have the gun and the jail cells and the lockup of all the people that don't go along with their sleaze and their filth? It's the liberal left in this country, and yes, I am going to be very intolerant of their being and their saying anything. This program's going to go down and go down fighting. I'll guarantee you that, Matt.
And that's the way to go. But look at the outrage that the media stirred up over this religious freedom law in Indiana a few months ago. Mm-hmm. They freaked out about it. This was the worst thing ever. Indiana has lost its mind. Oh, this is bigoted. This is terrible. You know what? There were dozens of other religious freedom laws in this country that nobody cared about, but because it was enacted right now in this sort of bizarre world turned upside down period we're going through, where you cannot say anything traditional without being called a bigot, without being called a hater, and without being called intolerant. But the thing is, those are the people who are really intolerant. They drove a pizza maker out of business because they said, well, yeah, we wouldn't really like to cater a gay marriage. There are people in New York right now who are about to lose their farm because they wouldn't have a gay wedding on their property.
That's right. That's right.
This is intolerance in a really Orwellian, scary fashion.
We have a caller with a question, Matt. Stand by. Caller, quickly, go ahead, please.
Yes, about this tax-exempt problem there for the churches, do you think it would be a good idea for the church people to get together and for $2 or $3 a piece get a hall or something away from the churches? And that would be one way of coming together, and the government can't touch them.
I'll have Matt respond to that. Matt, go ahead, please.
Well, I think that is a way of doing it. Unfortunately, what you're going to do is you're going to drive many mainline churches out of business.
Yeah.
Take, for example, all the charity that the Catholic Church does, all the education that the Catholic Church does. A lot of money changes hands there. It is tax-exempt money. It takes that money to keep those things going. You start taxing it, you're going to have a lot less of the product that it provides, and namely education and charity services.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing for every other church in the country that undertakes that. And it's unfortunate because this is a case of the left. Well, frankly, they kind of like that because they would kind of like to drive everyone into the arms of the government.
Absolutely.
They would like to, do away with religious hospitals, religious charities, religious education, because then there's nobody left to do it but the government, and they would like us back in the Borg, basically, is what it is. So that could be an end game for them, and getting together, and forming a small church that takes no money from anyone would be a way to do it. But that only goes so far in solving the problem.
Yeah. Matt, let me say that every Monday I have many of the attorneys on our program with the Alliance Defending Freedom. And I had the lovely Carrie Kupek on this morning again, and we were talking about this same subject. And I guess the number one thing that I'm worried about right now is that they're going to come after me. I expect that. I expect that they're going to come after traditional Christian values. But what's next in their stepping stone of trying to put Christianity completely asunder in this country? What do you think the media and those insidious groups are going to do next?
I think it is what I just said it was. Walking into your local church and demanding to be married. That will be the new cause celeb because that is the last threshold. They are unhappy that religion look, they're unhappy religion exists. They are unhappy that religion exists largely untouched within the church walls. They have already managed to banish it from out the church walls. They've already said you can practice. You're entitled to practice as long as you stay in your church. Don't bring it outside with you. Now, so where do they go from here? They come inside the church. This is going to be the next thing. Now, I don't know whether even the Supreme Court could force a minister to perform a ceremony that he vehemently disagrees with, that his Christian conscience won't accept. But given this court, I wouldn't be surprised at anything. I think that is the next step for them.
Did you, and I know you follow this every day in the news, but did you and others of whom you work for with CRC Public Relations, did you have any idea that this was going to be the ruling? Did you have any clues that you were working on last week prior to this judicial tyranny by the Supreme Court?
Rumor and my own natural pessimism. But it really, I did not expect a victory out of this. The way the culture is going, the zeitgeist, it seemed to me like it was going to be unstoppable, and it was.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't think that it would be this wholesale magical, creation of a brand new right in the 14th Amendment. I thought there'd be some incremental thing or, some sort of compromise that would open the way. I did not expect it would be this sort of apocalyptic ruling that, we are now, every state in the nation is now forced to recognize gay marriage. So I didn't really see it coming in that way, but I wasn't at all optimistic about the outcome.
One final thought here. When you look at and you survey and look at the media every day, that's your job. You know the media better than I ever will. When you look at newscasts, whether it's CNN, ABC, CBS, it doesn't make any difference. And what's going on in the entertainment segments of those different networks, etc., how much worse can it get, and what do you expect we'll see and or hear in the next not-too-distant future?
Well, it depends what they think the next quote civil right is.
Yeah.
Look, we are now inundated with the transgender stuff. That has been progressing sort of along parallel lines with the gay thing, but that is still something to be that they can still push. They're doing it now. I just saw something about about two shows on ABC Family that are about transgenders.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
So there's that. And then there's also, frankly, I think the road we're going down is polygamy. And the push to normalize that. That's coming. There's also already been a few rumblings about it. Because if the court decides that it can rule based on love, which is what Kennedy wrote, which is the least legal thing I've ever heard, but he ruled on the basis of love. Well, love between one man, one woman. Why not 3?
Oh, boy.
Why not 4?
Oh, brother.
That's where it's going next, and you'll start seeing the pop culture mobilizing to help that push.
Matt, I'll tell you what, hopefully there will be better days, better topics ahead, but I absolutely salute you for your Media Research Center and your ability to look at the problem and talk about the problem. Matt Philbin, God bless, come back soon, okay?
Thanks, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Wow. I have spent most of the morning this morning on this absolutely detrimental, harmful Supreme Court ruling. Harmful to our society, harmful to our children, harmful to future generations because of the idiocy and incompetency that the Supreme Court showed. And I want to reiterate, I'm not going to weaken on this. Absolutely not. I find it to be like I said earlier, an assault on God's Word, an assault on the Bible, an assault on Christianity, and an assault on traditional thinking and values. Therefore, I'm ready to go to war. And that's exactly what they're going to get from me. I'm not going to weaken. I'm not going to become tolerant of their abnormalities. Not on this program. Never. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say thank you very much to a couple of sponsors of our Cassia County School segment on Thursdays at 10:12, one being A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and Everything for Babies and Toddlers sale, 20 to 70% off. Whoa, save a lot of money. And also there's a great sale on summer dresses for the ladies and play clothes for the kids at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. Outpatient surgery procedures like colonoscopies, carpal tunnel syndrome, eye surgeries, and many, many more. Call and let them save you money at Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland in Burley, 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Hey, by the way, too, before I forget, Vicky's Country Garden. Every Thursday at 10:32, we have Vicky's Country Garden with a show called Gardening for Idiots, named after me and my gardening abilities, but we're getting better. And of course, Vicky's Country Garden, weekly specials, check the reader board, and they've got all brand new shipments of bark in, and all the decorative rock and soil aid and all the chemicals, everything at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. The number to call, 438-5663. We're going to take a couple of minutes off and be right back with more Zeb at the Ranch. Don't you go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb back.
Oh, thank you very much. Welcome back to our last half hour, Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Don't forget, coming up on Wednesday, on July 1st at 6 p.m. at the corner of Scott and C Street in Rupert, the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument Service. Monument pays tribute to all the fallen men and women who gave their life for us here in this great United States. What a great way to tip off, of course, the month of July with Independence Day on the 4th, and, of course, all our red, white, and blue feelings. Please be in attendance at that ceremony, the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument, on this Wednesday, July 1st at 6 p.m. at the corner of Scott and C Street in Rupert. Don't you miss that, please. Also, another reminder, Dixon Oil, 602 South 2nd and Rupert. My goodness, they've been in business since 1951, and they have a great service station with all the gas, oils, fuels, heating, propane, everything. Daryl and the crew at Dixon Oil wish you the best 4th of July Independence Day celebration ever right there at Dixon Oil in Rupert. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I believe we have with us the queen of the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, Becky Robbins. Becky, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Zeb, I'm good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. All right. You've been queen for a year, my goodness sakes, and now looking ahead to the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. What's the last year been like as the queen of the Cassia County Fair?
It's been so much fun. Me and my Princess McKenna Ward, we've been able to travel around and represent Cassia County at many different rodeos and parades.
All right. Now, when you say represent Cassia County at many fairs and rodeos and parades, I mean, this is kind of a long, tedious job, traveling all over the country and getting the horses all brushed up and groomed and getting yourself all looking spiffy. It's not an easy job being a queen, is it?
No, but it's totally worth it.
All right. Now, tell us a little bit about the Queen Contest for this year. You're going to be giving up your title as Queen, along with the Princess is going to be giving up her title, and you're looking for new girls to get involved in the contest. Go ahead and tell these girls why they should get involved.
So we have 2 divisions. We have the Queen and the Princess, and they compete in speeches and modeling and interviews. And we also are judged in a horsemanship pattern. And we just have so much fun during the week. We get to hang out and hand out ribbons out at the 4-H shows. And we also get to attend the concerts. And we get to be in the parades and rodeos of all 3 nights.
Okay.
And it's just so much fun.
Well, Becky...
we get to... Yeah.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Pardon me. I thought you quit there for a minute. Becky, tell everybody, are you still looking for more girls to get involved?
Yeah, we are. We want as many that can come. We're looking for girls age 12 to 16 for Princess and girls age 16 to 23 for Queen.
16 to 23 for Queen. And what are some of the parameters? I mean, what do they have to know? What do they have to do? What do they have to own? I mean, tell us what some of the parameters are.
So you just have to put your best self out there, and you don't even have to own your own horse. You can borrow someone's, and you just have to be able to ride out there and wave to everyone and just do your best.
All right. Where do they go to get information packets if they want to become a queen or a junior princess?
So you can download the application off the Casa County Fair website, or you can also go pick them up at the fair office.
Okay. And what's the deadline for having all that filled out and turned back in?
The deadline is July 6th at 6 p.m.
Okay, so they've got roughly about a week or so left to get those packets of information filled out, and if they want to become an entrant for the Princess or the Queen contest, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
What's been the most fun thing that you've had to do over the last year?
I would say going up to Haley, Idaho, and riding in the Wagon Days Parade.
Okay, why?
One of the coolest parades ever.
Well, what was so much uniqueness about that? What made it so much fun for you?
That parade, there is no motorized vehicles. It's just all horses and wagons. And they just have horses and riders from all over, and it's really cool to go there.
Along with that, let's look back 5 or 6 years ago. Did you plan on becoming a queen? Did you want to be the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo Queen? And now that you've achieved that, what's the great memory for the past, and what do you want to do in the future?
Yeah, ever since I was a little girl, I've always had a dream of being a rodeo queen. And I worked really hard, and my hard work paid off.
Okay.
And I just had a lot of great memories. And I've just learned these past years to never give up.
All right.
And I've been able to meet a lot of really neat people and go a lot of neat places.
Now, when
and in the next few years, I hope to get my degree of animal science at Utah State and continue with my love for horses.
Now, what do you want to be, a veterinarian, or what is your goal for the equine world?
Yeah, I would like to be an equine vet or even a vet tech.
Okay.
Somewhere along that, or even a trainer.
You know, I'm sure you would agree with me, Becky, that it's more than just a girl competing for a title of queen or princess. It takes a lot of family members to help you. Talk a little bit about your family and what they've done for you.
Yeah, it definitely does. My family has been so supportive of me. My dad has hauled me and my horse around for many years, and he's always made sure that I have everything that I need. And my mom has always helped me with my speeches and make sure that I always look nice. And also my extended family, they've always been there to cheer me on no matter what.
Okay. Now, what has been, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Becky, what has been the most embarrassing thing that you've had happen to you as the Cassia Queen? Anything you want to tell us about?
I'm sure there have been many. Just a while ago, at the Western Days Parade in Twin Falls, the parade was about to start, and I was feeling really good about it, and my horse was just trotting along, and all of a sudden my flowers came off right there before the parade, so I had to go through the whole parade without flowers.
You know, when you look back at the experience of not only the competition of the horsemanship, but the speaking and everything else, do you really feel like you've learned something by being the queen?
Oh, definitely, yes. I've learned so much. I have been able to sharpen up my interview skills, and just I've learned so much. I can't even explain.
Okay. So once again, tell everybody about the packets of information that they need to fill out, and they've got to get them turned back in. Tell them where they can go and the deadline, if you would, once again, please, for both the princess and the queens.
Okay. Yes, the applications for the Queen and Princess contest, you can find them at the fair office, or you can download them from the Cassia County Fair website. And they have to be all filled out and sent to Mary Jane Jolly, or you can email it to her by July 6th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Becky, is there any final thoughts? I probably will get a chance to talk to you one more time before you give up your reign as queen, but anything else you want to remind people of?
I just want you all to know that I'm excited for Fair Week, and I want you all to come down. It'll be a great time.
All right. Thank you so much, Becky Robbins, Cassia County Fair and Rodeo Queen, and we appreciate you coming on the program this morning. Best of wishes to becoming an equine veterinarian. I hope everything goes well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, take care. God bless. Thank you. Yep. Anybody that's interested, any girl between the ages mentioned earlier about being a princess and or a queen contestant, be sure and get to the fair office and get those papers and fill them out as soon as you can and get them back so that you can be a contestant for being a possible princess or queen. Okay? Now calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to have your calls. You've kind of listened to the entirety of the program this morning. You've had a chance to, I'm sure, make up your own mind about what's happened over the last couple of days with that, I think, insidious decision by the Supreme Court that is going to change and alter and destroy a lot of traditional values in this country. I want to hear from you. I want to hear, whether you agree with me or not, I'd like to hear your words as to what you think is going to happen in America now. There seems to be a trend, whether it's in the media, whether it's with the newscasts, whether it's with the TV shows, whatever. There seems to be a trend of absolute anything goes, and traditional values, traditional beliefs, and belief in God in general is being trashed. Do you agree with me or not? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I think what I'll do, because I honestly believe you folks are going to be calling in, I'm going to do a weather forecast real quick, and the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarrows Meats, and then we'll take your calls, all right? Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time, and they've got that hot summertime barbecue special, oh my goodness, for only $199, beef with the ribeye steaks and New York strips. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't hang up. Boneless pork chops, brats, and all kinds of goodies with that barbecue special for just $199. Oh, they guarantee everything they sell at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Here now, the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like this high-pressure system is going to be sticking around throughout at least the next week, possibly the next 10 days, and it means it's going to be sunny and hot. Probably to mostly sunny skies for today. High right around 100. Expect a low right near 67. For tomorrow, sunny skies, 96. For Wednesday, as we kick off the first day of July, sunny and 97, and it's going to remain pretty much steady. Highs are going to be in the upper 90s to low 100s. Lows are going to be in the low to mid-60s for the next week. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
All right, thank you very much. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Thanks for the call. All this that's happening in the United States Congress, in the White House, and elsewhere in government is very depressing to me, and I'm very disappointed in the United States Congress for allowing this crap to go on, and that's exactly what it is. It's crap. And most of it's being orchestrated by a communist tyrant who currently resides in the White House. And if you don't think he's a communist, do your homework and your research and see how much communist guidance this man had prior to becoming a state and U.S. senator.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got a notice from teaparty.org the other day, and it requested me to call John Boehner and a few other U.S. representatives and give them a piece of my mind, which I did, and I just outright called him, John Boehner, a communist as well. They have one gentleman who was chairman of a subcommittee by the name of Mark Meadows, and John Boehner took him out of that position simply because he voted against Boehner as Speaker of the House.
That's true.
Anyway, with all of the phone calls that we were able to muster last week, Mark Meadows was reinstated as the subcommittee chairman in the position that he held prior to. Anyway, I just want people to know out there in the listening audience that your phone calls are important.
Absolutely.
If you get a list of phone numbers to call through your email or whatever, it just doesn't take but 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds at the most, to tell those people in Washington what you want.
God bless you. God bless you, sir, because what you said, you made a great summation of what all of us should do, and I thank you for your call. That was very well stated, and please don't make yourself a stranger. Call back more often. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jet and Zeb, and for the service you provide.
Oh, God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Thank you.
Hi. I agree with the things that you've been saying, and I only pray for what might be coming for us in the future.
You know, Lorna, right there, when you say you pray for what might be coming for us or against us in the future, and I think that's the best thing we can do. I think prayer absolutely is a necessity. I think using every right we have as free citizens, everything that we have at our disposal to try to change America for the better is absolutely a necessity to use right now, prayer being at the top of the list.
Yes. Could I just read what our church put out about the Supreme Court decision?
If it's real short, go ahead.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints acknowledges that following today's ruling by the Supreme Court, same-sex marriages are now legal in the United States. The Court's decision does not alter the Lord's doctrine that marriage is a union between a man and a woman ordained by God.
There you go.
While showing respect for those who think differently, the Church will continue to teach and promote marriage between a man and a woman as a central part of our doctrine and practice.
Absolutely. And I think that same statement could be said and administered by many other faiths also. Lorna, God bless you and thank you for your call. I appreciate it.
And thank you. Have a great day.
God bless. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Nobody's
I thought I heard the moo of the cow. That's why I jumped right back into that. I'm sorry. Wheels, you're doing a great job. I just thought I misheard something that wasn't there. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me, if I can, explain a little bit about what we are or aren't going to do on this program. Number one, as I stated earlier this morning, I am not going to kowtow or basically be swayed by the intolerant left to accept any principles or philosophies which I deem to be against God's Word or against my traditional principles. So therefore, we have got a real problem going on in the future with the leftist movement in this country. I'm not going to accept things as normal. I'm not going to accept things as now being legal per se, and that's just the way things are. I think the Supreme Court made a very damaging decision of nothing more than judicial tyranny to adhere to and abide by the leftist principles which are trying to be imposed upon us in this country. I will not abide by that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. It's kind of disheartening to me, the fact that people I know, people younger than me, by 10, 12 years, who are just get over it. It is what it is, and quit arguing about it. Quit being right here. They don't understand that the whole fact is they have no right to take that away. You know, to make that. The Supreme Court didn't have any right to make that decision.
You know, Riley,
it should be up to the states, and the younger generations, they don't listen, they don't pay attention, they don't care. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah, Riley. The problem is as you have already stated, that the left movement and the progressive movement in this country has got their very insidious hands and heartfelt ideas into the minds of the younger generation, and now it's going to be hard to change that. They've got away from Christianity. They've got away from moral values. They've got away from what made this country great, and it's up to us to fight back and make sure that those principles don't die forever.
Well, my stand on it is I believe it's wrong. I have friends that are gay, and I tell them that my belief is wrong. I love you as a human being, but I can't stand beside what you decide to do. I mean, it's your choice, but I believe it's wrong.
Absolutely.
And these other people, this one individual in particular, their thought is, well, God wants us to love everyone. Well, yes, He does, but also it's wrong. You know, and you can't force me to like something that I truly believe is wrong.
Yes, and it's not loving the sin, it's loving the sinner and hating the sin and trying to change it. That's what we should be doing.
Exactly, but they don't understand that. They're just worried about getting what they want and their way instead of understanding where us as Christians come from. And what we believe in, that we love the person. We just don't love the sin.
Absolutely.
Love that person unconditionally, but don't make me try to change my faith because of you.
Absolutely. Well stated, Riley. Thank you for your call as always. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You know, you're going to have to ask yourself, do I have the courage to really take this onslaught on and fight back? You're going to have to ask yourself that question, because it's going to happen. And like we said earlier with the various guests, whether it was Matt Philbin or Kerry Kupek or Doug Johnson, all of them, we're going to have more of an onslaught from the liberal left, more so now than ever before, because the Supreme Court has opened up the floodgates as to what are they going to try to push on us next. What are they going to try to do to us, God-fearing Christians? What are they going to do to God's Word? What are they going to do to churches? What are they going to do to pastors? What are they going to do next? And you can bet your bottom dollar they have a planned approach to absolutely destroy, ruin, and stop Christianity in this country. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, I'm waiting for your call that I hope is coming in. Don't forget to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, making sure you're ready for summertime travel with the free pre-trip safety check. Yes, visual inspection of your automobile and your vehicle to make sure everything is working correctly. And, of course, the best in Tires. When I say the best in tires, don't forget they've got the Ultra Z900, their best passenger car tire, on sale right now. Check it out. Along with the best in brake service, and I mean the best in brake service, they've been providing the best in brake service to their customers for well over 30 years. Stop in and see them today. Caller, I'll be right there. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I just had a question. How do you fight the Supreme Court?
How do you fight the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I hear all the time, elections have consequences. We've elected and turned down gay marriage, and now they decide to do this. How do you fight the Supreme Court?
I can't answer that question flippantly because, I'll be honest with you, you stumped me there, because how do you fight the Supreme Court? Well, I guess I would say back to you, why didn't the Supreme Court use the values and the parameters that were given to them by our Constitution? How did they manage to fight the American people with lies and innuendos in a decision that should have been made by the states and not by the Supreme Court? We've got kind of a dog chasing its tail attitude, but I can tell you this much: the Supreme Court is not going to change and alter and maintain a change in my personality. I will never accept the gay lifestyle as normal. It is abnormal. I will never accept gay marriage. I will fight it. If my church ever says that they're going to marry gays, I will leave that church. I am not going to support it.
None of us are, but I'm just, how the hell do we fight them?
I think we're going to have to elect officials that have backbone for conservative attitudes, that are going to stand up and look at the snake in the eyes and say, we're going to defeat you. You know, sir, I don't know. I don't think anybody has a concrete answer to that, other than we're going to have to stand up one at a time, 3 at a time, 10 at a time, and say, enough is enough. Whether it's Crapo or Risch or whatever, you will vote our way. This is the majority of your constituents, or we're going to throw you out of office. I can't answer that.
It doesn't matter if the Supreme Court rules against them. So where do you go from there?
We are living, I think, in desperate times right now, to where good is being conquered by evil. But I'm not going to sit down in a lawn chair and let evil just run over me. I'm going to fight back any way I can. To give you a definitive answer right now, you've got me on the hook. I can't give you a definitive answer other than I will not adhere to it. I will not respect the decision. I will not respect the law, because it's against traditional values and God's law, and that's where I make my definition.
Thanks, Deb. Bye.
God bless you, sir. Thank you. Kind of put me on the spot, and rightfully so, because I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how to fight back right now. And these talk show hosts that'll come on maybe after me or any time during this week to say, well, yeah, well, this, that, and the other, they don't know either. We're in a mess right now, folks. We are in a mess. Good versus evil. And to be very honest with you, evil is winning right now. Look at the garbage that was in our local newspaper yesterday. And all the filth and the sleaze about how we, the whites, are disenfranchised whites, and that we're not adopting to a changing world. I don't want to change to that world. I don't want to accept the sleaze and the filth, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to. It's a very fair question what that man asked. How do we fight back against the Supreme Court? How do we fight back against good and evil? I don't know, but I'm sure going to start looking for more answers. I can guarantee you that. Caller, I've got exactly 30 seconds. Real fast. Go.
Yes, Ed, when I called in earlier, I think maybe the interview that you had misunderstood what I was saying about the church people getting away from the church and meeting.
All right, well,
get away from this tax exempt problem.
Okay, what did you mean quickly, Tony? I'm almost out of time.
Okay, I meant that you're going to have to get away from the church and not let anybody know that you're going to the church, but you're going to get together and become one body without having to worry about losing your tax exemption from the government.
I tell you what, let's talk about this a little bit more tomorrow where I don't have to rush you out the door. I think it's a good point, but I think he understood, but maybe both of us, both sides of the conversation, we overlooked an important point. Call me on that tomorrow, would you, Tony?
Yeah, I certainly will.
All right, God bless you. I got to run. Zeb at the Ranch, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Let me say that one more time. The way things were are the way things ought to be. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to be a part of the sleaze and the filth. Don't change. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.